worship. We're going to be kind of laid back this morning, so I'm going to let you stay seated if and only you sing along with us. So we don't have the full band today, so this is a prime opportunity to have your voices heard literally. So welcome to worship this morning, and sing along. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, your perfect love is casting out fear. And even when I'm caught in the middle of the storms of this life, I won't back down. I know you as we go through the service today. Again, we're very casual here. Get up and get some coffee and snacks if you want some. We have a few announcements today. The main thing I want to remind everybody about is that we're resuming all our Wednesday activities this week. That's children's ministry, that's youth small groups, and we are having family night supper. We're trying a few new things with that this year in terms of the food. We are going to be providing a meal. We're going to try a few basically different combinations over the next few months. We would love for you to join us. If you want to join us, just please call the church office so that we can have an accurate count. The price for right now is going to stay at only $6. You can't eat anywhere for $6. The food's good and the fellowship is good. The people that come, we always have a good time, so pay attention to that. If you have youth or children or grandchildren, just remember all those activities are going to start Wednesday. We have some bulletins in the back, and it's got the Wednesday schedule if that's something that you might be interested in. We are going to have communion this morning. When the ushers come, we'll just come down the sides, I guess, and because I don't want to run into the camera, but we'll come down the sides. Just follow the usher's direction. If you're here today worshiping with us, we want you to join us for communion. You don't have to be a member of this church or any church for that matter to partake in the Lord's Supper. So come forward when summoned by the ushers, and they'll direct you. Basically, we do communion in the way that you take a wafer and dip it in the cup and enjoy the Lord's Supper. And we're going to take up the offering on this next song. We brought the buckets and baskets over. Buckets are going to come around. That's for change or loose bills. We use that money for missions in our local area. Your regular offering to the church is going to go in the basket that's going to be passed by you. And all those are going to come around to you as we do this next song.
Soul that I can't contain, I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. Set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God. I try to run and I try to hide. I try to run and I try to hide. I try to run and I try to hide, but I burn with your fire. I burn with your fire. I try to run and I try to hide. I try to run and I try to hide. I try to run and I try to hide, but I burn with your fire. I burn with your fire so set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, I can't control. I want more of you, God. Yeah, I want more of you, God. So set a fire down in my soul that I can't contain, I can't control. I want more of you, God. I want more of you, God.
Good morning. Good morning. Get real close to the mic. Good morning, all you beautiful people. Can you hear me? Is it, or is it an echo? Or we good? I feel like I'm in a New Testament church. We're sitting around, got plates to eat. I feel like this is how church is supposed to be. When I was a youngster, we used to have charges, and I was on the station church. We would sit in the sanctuary. Didn't like it. I like being part of a charge where we would meet in somebody's living room. We'd sit around and eat cookies and cake and drink coffee while the preacher preached. And I just felt more connected, more close. And so I hope that even though we're not in our regular worship space, that this will give you some sense of connectedness. I have a sermon this morning that is a challenge for me. It's not an easy thing for me to do, but it is something that I study regularly, and it's a text that I notice very few preachers preach from. You know, if you're a positive preacher, this is one of those Bible verses you kind of skip over. So if you got your handy dandy BlackBerry or Blueberry or Orange or whatever, iPod or whatever phone you got, or if you got a Bible and you'd like to follow along, we're going to be reading from Matthew chapter 16 verse 24 and following. And I'm not making it up. I do have a Bible on my phone. Now, I didn't say that. This is what Jesus said. Then Jesus told his disciples, if anyone wants to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. For what profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? For what shall a man give in return for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in glory, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done. Not what he's believed, what he has done. Truly I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. And those are interesting words. I'll start out with, Jesus said, if you want to be my disciple, if you want to follow me, if you want to use good evangelical conservative theology, if you want to be born again, take up your cross and follow me. Deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't like those words. I'm kind of like Mark Twain. There's some stuff in the Bible I understand, I don't like it. The stuff I don't understand, that stuff in Revelation about the angels and the white horse and the iron, I don't understand all that stuff. A lot of the poetry in the Bible, I don't understand. Take up your cross, that's pretty clear. So, what does that mean? Well, back in the day when Jesus walked the planet as a real person, the Romans used crucifixion to keep all the liberated countries in line. There was a thing in Latin, it's called Pax Romana, the peace of Rome. And Rome will give your country peace at a price. You had to call Caesar Lord. You would get new roads. You would get a military system that would keep peace, that would reduce crime, that would give you internal plumbing. But the cost was high taxes. And if you didn't like what the government was doing, they would crucify you. And then, not just that, they will crucify you so everybody else in the neighborhood knows what happens when you go against Rome. The Persians started crucifixion. They got a single pole and they would impale people on it. But you died very quickly. So the Romans were like, nah, that just doesn't get the point across. We'd like to prolong the death. And how can we do that? And they played around with it, and they played around with it, and they made T-bone crosses, and they made crosses like we have today. And finally they came up with a cross system with nails and ropes that they could control about how long you lived on the cross. And so they would crucify you, and it usually take about 2-3 days to a week, or maybe even longer to kill you. And the reason they wanted you to do that is so that people could see you suffering and go like, I'm not going to do what he did. And then over the top of your head, they would put your crime. So when Jesus was crucified, they crucified him for being the king of the Jews. He claimed to be king. And unlike today, when Jesus said, come follow me and take up your cross, everybody knew what he meant, because crucifixion doesn't mean what it meant today. Today, we get those cute, how many of you have a cute little cross around your neck for protection, or you hang one in your car for protection, or you put a Bible in your car because it's like a good luck charm? Well, back in those days, crucifixions weren't good luck charms. The Bibles weren't even, for the most part, around, unless you use the Old Testament. One of my favorite examples of that is between Americus and Dawson. During the 60s, there was a group of people that started a farm called the Koinonia Farm. Any of you familiar with the Koinonia community between Dawson and Americus, where a person started an intentional interracial farm and fellowship and worship? He also wrote the Cabbage Patch New Testament. He wrote the New Testament for the South. Well, it's still around. You can go visit the farm and buy stuff and see how they're doing intentional living together. Well, while he was real popular, they invited him to Washington, to the political community, and he went to visit this Presbyterian church, brand new build, multi-million-dollar building. And they showed him around, and he was like, wow, that's a big building. Yeah, it's pretty. I like it. And they showed him the sanctuary. They said, oh, look at this beautiful sanctuary. He said, yeah, it's nice. Nice place to worship. They showed him the cross, and they said, look at that $6,000 or $1 million cross. And he was like, that's interesting, because back in Jesus' day, they used to give them away for free. And so today we've made Christianity clean and polypacked and easy. So when Jesus says, take up your cross and follow me, deny yourself, people don't like that. In fact, Jesus' church went from about 15 to 20,000 members when he was feeding them, down to almost 3 members the night he got crucified. And what I take away from that is we all want easy faith. One of my favorite movies is a NASCAR movie, and I know it's not appropriate, but in that movie I think the guy says boogity, 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 and then they have Thanksgiving meal, and the guy says, I don't like this Jesus. Give me baby Jesus. Give me the baby Jesus. I don't want the Jesus of the cross. And so what does it mean to deny yourself? I think it has to do with, number one, what's most important to you. If people looked at your life, would there be enough Christian acts to convict you. If people looked at your life and they said, okay, we want to convict this person of being a Christian, would there be enough evidence in your life to convict you of being a Christian? If people looked at your checkbook, I guess we don't do checks anymore, your bank statement or your debit card, would there be enough financial transactions that would convict you of being a Christian? If folks looked at our lifestyles, would we be seeing people that deny ourselves and take up our cross? I know that in Jesus' time there was this rich young man, and he came running up to Jesus. He said, Jesus, Jesus, I want to follow you. What do I need to do? And Jesus looked at him and said, go sell everything you have and come and follow me. And that young man got sad and walked away, knowing he could not do that. And then Jesus said, take up your cross and follow me. And somebody said, but I've got a father I need to bury. And Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead. And then people gave one excuse after another excuse why they first had to do something else before they could make that kind of commitment to God. And that's why I found this text really, really hard. When I started out being a Christian, I thought, oh, that's easy. I'll give my heart to Jesus. I'll come live in America and I'll give up my family and everything and I'll follow Jesus. Well, then when I came to America, I found that this land was the land of milk and honey. And that as a pastor, I make more than most pastors in Africa. I make more than most DSs. I probably make more than most bishops in Africa. And the denying myself got a little bit more difficult. I once heard a story about a young man named Peter. And he read this text and he said, you know, I don't like my cross. I'm going to go to Jesus and see if I can swap it out for a little bit of a smaller cross. So he went to Jesus and he said, Jesus, I'd like to swap my cross out. I want a little bit easier. This denial thing is way too much for me. Give me something easier for me to do. Jesus is not a problem. The cross room's right down there, right next to the Sunday school room. Just go in there and see what you can find. Well, he walked in there and he saw the humongous cross. The cross of Jesus, the one that he used to die for all our sins. No, I can't do that cross. Then he saw Peter, Saint Peter, the one that, you know, was always chopping off ears and getting angry. That cross was way too big. No, I don't want that. They discipleship, and I can't do that cross. And then he looked at St. Francis of Assisi, you know, the one that loved animals, and he was like, no, I don't think I can do that cross. I love animals, but, you know, living in poverty and giving up all that stuff, and no, I can't do that cross. And so he went from cross to cross. He looked at Mother Teresa's cross and like, no, that's way too much. And he looked at, you know, everybody's cross. And finally, he found the smallest cross in the room. He said, like, hey, I'll take that cross. That's the smallest cross. I said, if that's all I need, I'm good. And Jesus said, well, that's the cross you brought in here. Jesus said, take up your cross and deny yourself and follow me. I think one of the reasons we don't really appreciate communion and we just see it as juice and cookies or juicing, like one person said, eating paper, it's because we miss what it's about. The juice represents blood and the bread represents body. And it actually is more than just remembrance, it's participating in the death of Christ. It's a physical reminder to remind us that we are to die to ourselves and live to Christ. So my challenge to you this morning is, how's it working for you? How's this whole denying yourself and taking up your cross working for you? What kind of barriers are getting in the way of you of being a Christian? For me, I say pride. Sometimes I really like to look good, and I don't always like to say and share my struggles. And it's easy for a preacher to be prideful. I don't know about you, but you know, when people come up and say, "Hey preacher, how's your ministry doing?" "Well preacher, how's your church doing?" Well, number one, it ain't my church. It's God's church. Number two, it ain't my ministry. It's God's ministry. In fact, and I'm going to end on this and we'll go into communion. If we ever get to the point when we talk about denying ourselves, and we do it in the first person, "Well, Jesus, I served 5,000 dinners for you to the poor today. Well, Jesus, I came to church and I never missed Sunday school. Well, Jesus, I gave my heart to you today. Well, Jesus, I was baptized for you today. Well, Jesus, I was whipped and scrounged and belittled for you today." If we do it and answer in the first person, we've done it wrong. I believe this has to be answered in the third person. "What do you mean, preacher?" It's because Jesus died on the cross. It's because of what He did. It's because of what Jesus did. Why am I here this morning? Because Jesus died on the cross. Why did I get baptized? Because Jesus died on the cross. What helps me to deny myself? It's Jesus' death on a cross. Everything we as Christians celebrate is because of what Jesus did on the cross so long ago. This morning, how much of dying on the cross is us, and how much of dying on the cross is Jesus? I encourage you this morning to take communion and remember that Jesus died so that we can have eternal life. Jesus died so that we can be a different kind of people in a hurt and dying world. It's Jesus who brings about transformation of the world. Would you be willing to join with me in that transformation? Would you be willing to allow Jesus to touch your hearts, allow them to be strangely warmed by His love? Are you willing to allow communion to be a special time in a special place so that we can take up our cross and follow Him? Let us pray. Almighty God, so often we like to think we do it, and we can do so much to impress you. But like you remind us, our righteousness is but filthy rags in your sight. So we ask that your grace and your love be poured through what Jesus did on the cross, so that we can be your children, built in grace and love. Amen. At this time, I'm going to ask the musicians to come and receive communion, and our communion stewards, and then after that, I'm going to then open communion for the rest of us this morning. And I pray that this be a special time in God's special place. Amen. The body and blood of Christ broken and shed for you, take, eat and drink. Amen.
If we'll all go around and we'll go this way across the back.
Yeah.
So,
What Rick said, I've never done communion yet, so I don't know how it works better. Yeah, the camera's in the middle. walk away sadly, and Jesus says, take up the cross and follow me. Or we can lean into God's grace and to the best of our ability take up their cross and follow Him and slowly grow in that grace, go in that knowledge, go in that strength, and take up your cross and follow Him. Amen.